Welcome to Dreamcatchers. I'm Diane O'Connor, and in this series, we will hear from MBSRT members who have retired and have gone on to their next chapter following their dreams. We'll meet people who have taken the leap and have gone on to have great adventures and wonderful life experiences. Our Dreamcatcher today is well-known Miramichi playwright and author John Bosma. John was born in the small village of Grau in Friesland, Holland, and when he was 6, his family immigrated from Holland to Newcastle, New Brunswick. John continued his education in New Brunswick, graduating from Teachers College first, then St. Thomas University with his BA, following later with his BEd from UNB. One of his first teaching positions was in Pangnirtung on Baffin Island, where he wrote a play translated into Inuktitut based on a Christmas carol called The Storekeeper. John eventually returned to the Miramichi to teach and continued to write plays, poetry, songs, and books. After he retired, John had a keen interest in history, and especially the history of the Miramichi, which has resulted in 12 books entitled The Biographies of Miramichi Lads and Ladies. Welcome to Dreamcatchers, John.
Thank you, Diane.
As we hear in your bio, you have taught up north on Baffin Island, and it was there that you wrote a play enacted in the Inuit language. Tell us a little bit about what that was like to teach in the far north and introducing drama to the children there.
Well, to start with, we had a training session in Yellowknife, and when we got off the plane at the airport there, it was sort of it's very much like I think when John Glenn landed on the moon, because to us it just felt like a different place. It didn't feel like we were on Earth anymore. It just you could feel it, you know. Anyway, we went through the training there, and then we landed in Pangnirtung, where as we circled that airport, we kind of thought, so this is where we're going to be for the next 10 months without our family, without our friends, without entertainment like we were used to. But that's what we signed up for, so that's what we did. And we we spent 2 years there, and actually in a small community up north, they don't pay much attention to you the first year. It's when you come back the second year and they say, "Oh, okay."
Oh, yes, they recognize you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was teaching in an open area there. I had a grade 6 class. We had books all between us, so it wasn't like we were on top of each other. But I did language arts with the kids, and I told them one day, if you do well, if you try hard and everything, I'm going to treat you to something different. And then they said okay, and they wanted to know what it was, so they worked hard that day. And I took them into a little room that they had that wasn't being used, and I did some drama games with them, and they loved it. So I said, okay, work hard, and I'll make sure you have one of these sessions every week. So we did. And one of the students that I had was the minister's daughter. His name was Reverend Mike Gardner. We all called him Mike. And she told her father that we were doing drama. And so he approached me and said, I'd love to do a play. Could you write a play for me? And I'll write it into Inuktitut. And I've got some missionary students here that I'm working with. They're going to different communities, to not as ministers, but as lay preachers and that sort of thing. And I said, sure. But I said, I can do that. But I said, I'd like to be in it. And he said, can you speak Inuktitut? I said, no. I said,
Oh,
can you teach me? And he said, okay, I think I might. So what he did was, after I wrote the script and he wrote it into their language, he wrote everything. He said, "What part do you want to play?" I said, "I want to play the storekeeper." Neo Victe was the title of the play, and it meant storekeeper. And it's sort of based on the Hudson Bay Manager, which both the Inuit and the Kalunok, which is the term they use for white people, I said weren't really real big fans of. So I said, yeah, I'd like to play that part. He said, oh, you'd have a lot to say. I said, yes. So basically, it was Scrooge,
yeah, yeah.
and So he wrote it all out phonetically, and I memorized it. And I don't know. I guess they understood everything I said because I had to pay for it later when they started talking to me like I knew what they were saying. Anyway, so the neat part of that was in the Inuit culture, if you get mad or angry, they think that's funny. They,
Really?
they really do. They just can't understand why somebody would get upset. So, of
Wow.
course, as Scrooge or the storekeeper, when these men came in looking for money, and I had to send them off, uh, the term for get out is anagit. And if you tell a bunch of people, and there were three guys that came in looking for money, the term was anagitsi. So when I finally was fed up with these guys and I said, Anagitsi, really loud, well, the audience just roared and they slapped their knees.
You
And
were a big hit.
it was like it was almost like a minute where we just couldn't go on with the play because they were laughing so
Oh
much.
my. That's
Anyway,
funny.
so it was a big hit. And like I said, later on, I had to, anytime they approached me or came up to me, and I'd say, I can, speaking to me like I understood, and I grab a student and said, "Tell them I can't speak. That was just for the play." And they would put their arms around me and they'd point over to the Hudson Bay and they'd laugh. I said, "Yeah, that was the guy."
That was a good joke. Oh my
Oh
gosh.
yeah,
Do you
yeah.
remember any of the language from that play?
No, I really don't. I mean, I learned certain things like imaha maybe, which you'd hear a lot. Uh, I, uh, I guess time off, which means stop, and that was, teacher needed something. If you say,
Yeah.
I'd say stop now, guys, I'd go time on, and they'd all okay. So there were certain words that I learned, but in the play itself, no, because it just went in there, and then once I was finished, that was pretty.
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
was a big hit, and we really enjoyed it, and so did the people, and yeah, because
Oh,
we
that's
stayed
good.
that Christmas, like we had gone home. Later on, we would go home for Christmas for that first Christmas. I said we better stay here. We did, and so yeah, it was it was a great experience. I just
Yeah,
love.
that
But
must be very interesting.
I just finished 3 nights of a play that I was in called Christmas Cruise, and where I had to memorize the lines in English. That wasn't easy now, not at my age, but we got through it, and yeah, that was and I enjoyed it. But I think as a retired person, the one thing I really don't want to do is commit myself. Like, and when
Hmm.
you say you'll be in a play, well, you have, I was the guy I played, well, the guy that had originally had the part, he couldn't do it anymore. So I took over and I only had like maybe 12 rehearsal, 2 hours, 2.5 hour rehearsals. But even at that, that was a lot of
Hmm.
time. And I
Yeah,
told her, I
it's a big
think
commitment.
it is. It really
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, yeah. And when you're retired, that's the whole thing about retirement. Your time is your own and you get to choose, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I have a little technique I use now, and I probably shouldn't say it out loud, but I have a big calendar. I don't use a phone. I don't have I have a cell phone. It's a flip phone, and I don't have data. So when someone says, "Could you do this for me?" I say, "Well, I got to go home and check my calendar." That gives me
That's a
time to
good
think
one.
about it, and I look at the calendar and say, "I don't think."
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good trick. More of us should do that because we do carry that calendar around in our pocket, and
Yeah,
sometimes it's hard to say no.
and you have to make a quick decision. No, I don't like making quick decisions now. No.
Well, now, I remember hearing a little song that you did when we were up on the Miramichi for our teachers' reunion, the retired teachers' reunion, and it was with the fly dope on that song. Can you tell us a story behind that? Because it's quite funny.
Background of that story. Yeah. Well, like I have to just tell you what would happen every year, and I love teaching, and we had our good days and our bad days, as you know, but at the end of the day, it was always drama, and I love doing that, and so I did it from September to June, basically, and so my wife would say, July, August you're with the family, we go camping, we do things. So I said, okay. Although I still snuck some time to write a few ideas down because if you had an idea, you couldn't just let it sit. You'd lose it
Mhm.
by
Oh,
September.
yeah.
So, but then in August, the Miramichi Folk Song Festival was on. I used to go attend them, and not all of them, but I go to some days. And this one day, they used to play it on the radio, and I was out washing the family car, and my wife, who comes out and said, "There's Costas Halabresos is on Maritime Noon, and he's at the festival. He interviewed a cook that was working at Ted Williams's camp, and he asked her about this rumor that he once had Marilyn Monroe and Joe DiMaggio at his camp, and it was everybody used to talk about this rumor, but nobody knew for sure. And she said, "Yes, it's true. They were there,
Ah,
and we
yeah.
weren't allowed to talk about it."
Oh, it's a big secret. Yeah.
And she said, and then he said, Casas asked her what Marilyn Monroe was like, and she said, "Well, you know something? She was just as pretty with the fly dough bod." And, and
And
she
there
said,
you had your hook for the song.
well, no, actually, Costa said, if you could write a song with that line in it at least once,
Hmm.
send it, phone it in to us. And
Yeah.
she said to me, "You could do that. You could write that."
Yeah.
And I was kind of shocked because it was still summer, and she wanted me to write something like, okay. So I did that night, and I took a couple of folk songs and put them together, and I got the story of what she told me, what the cook said, and put it together. And by the next morning, I phoned it into CBC, and then of course we then listened every week to see how that went, and they
Hmm.
finally said, "Okay, we cut it down to 5 songs," and they played each of the 5 songs, and one of them was mine. I thought, "Oh, okay, I'm in the
Yeah.
top 5. Great,
Yeah. There
wonderful."
you go.
And then he said, "Next week we're going to play the top 3," and so they played the third one. I would have been happy with that. No. Second one, no. Oh, could I have been the first? No, it wasn't that either. So I thought, oh well, I was in the top 5. And then
Yep.
but he said there was another song that we thought should have been number 1 too, and they played my song. Oh,
Oh, oh, that's nice.
and
Yeah.
I don't know what I did with it, but I got a nice CBC cup for my,
Yeah. Big
yeah,
prize.
yeah. So it was just kind of neat to I've sung that song before. It was nice to sing it for the crowd there, and they seem to enjoy it. And my best friend, who played Francis Peabody, the founder of Chatham, and we sort of did this together. We didn't really rehearse it at all. He's funny just on his own, and we
Mhm.
just sort of talked back and forth sort of thing, and sang the song. And yeah, everybody seemed to get into it that night. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, they certainly did at the teachers' convention
yeah,
when we
yeah,
were there, the Miramichi.
yeah,
It was quite a hoot.
yeah. And then did you become an honorary Miramichier?
Well, I suppose maybe, but I lived in the Miramichi for 8 years before I came to
Oh,
Rothsay. So yeah, I know some of the stories from Miramichi, the
oh,
Dungarvan Hooper and all of
oh,
that sort
yeah,
of stuff. Yeah.
right, right on. Wow,
Yeah.
wow,
Oh
that's
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, it was a great place to be.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, and that's where we ended up. My father had 2 job offers. He came over as a baker. He was a baker. And at that time, that was 1955, you had to have a job, and the people who gave you the job had to have a place for you to live.
Oh,
So they built us a house in behind the bakery.
oh,
And
nice.
we lived in a temporary house for a while, then we moved there in October. So I had been in kindergarten in Holland. That was not known, and we hadn't started yet in Canada, but or in New Brunswick. But so I attended grade 1, and I really couldn't speak English that well. So I had a teacher named Bertie Goodfellow. Her son is a good friend of mine, he and his wife, and I taught with his wife as well. And so she basically taught me English, and so I through through all those Dick and Jane and Spock
Oh,
and all
yes.
that. Yep, that's
Yeah.
how I learned it. And I remember when she passed away, I was at her funeral, and Vernon Goodfellow is her son. He saw his brother Frank. He said, "Frank, do you know John?" He said, "I don't think we've met." He said, "Yeah, this is John Bosma." And she said, You mean the one that my mother insistently talked about at supper every night?
Oh no, you were famous in that household.
So I didn't know whether to be flattered or back anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Oh my goodness. Well, now you're also a member of the Miramichi Heritage Society,
Mhm.
and you found historical photos and biographies, sparking an interest in some of these biographies, and that resulted in your book, in a number of your books, Miramichi Lads and Ladies. So,
Mm.
how did you compile all of those people for your books? I mean, I've read book number two, and there's a lot of them in there
Yeah,
from
yeah.
many different eras and ages.
Well, you read book number two of the three that I did. I did
Hmm.
oh no, I'm sorry, I only did two.
Hmm.
Notable one and notable two, Bear Shears, but they were based on yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what I did was on the Miramichi Heritage side, I used to collect pictures, and as a matter of fact, I just finished this. This is on the north. Can you see it?
Yeah.
On the north side of the river and the bay, and I
Hmm.
have all these old. I collected those from that site, and of course, the receptionist or the designer at the printing shop said you can't do the north and not do the south, so the south will do. And of course,
Yeah.
the CFB Chatham was famous for the Golden
Oh, yes.
Knights. So I collected all these pictures, did it for years, and I got my own as well. And then one day they started putting biographies on there, and I thought, well, that's interesting. But I was working at the time, so I decided, all right, I'll just copy, paste it, file it, and I'll read it when I have time.
Hmm.
And then one day they had one on my father. This student had done a story on my dad when this was he talked to him about the war and his experience because my parents were in in occupied Holland for 5 years,
All
and
right.
two of my sisters as well. So I thought, well, gee, maybe I should put this in a book. I said, okay.
Uh-huh.
So I collected more and I did a book, and then more came out, and then I found more stories. I ended up with 12 books of
Wow.
various years.
12 books. That's a lot of people.
A lot of people. And so what I did was from those 12, I thought, why don't I pick about 75 for one book, book one, and 75 for book two. And that's what I did because I wanted people to read about all these characters. There were
Mm,
so many really neat. Well, my parents included. I did one on my mother as well.
hmm.
Yeah, so that's how that all that started. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, there are some very interesting. I know I took an afternoon and read the whole book.
Yeah.
And I've picked out a few and it was very interesting to read about um gotta get his name right, David Adams Richards.
Yes. Mhm.
And all of the things that he went through in his life. And I mean, we know a certain side of him with his literary background and being a senator, but I didn't know about all of the trials and tribulations he had
Mhm.
before he got into being an author and a senator. So that
Yeah.
was really interesting to me.
Did you see the movie that they did
No,
was in
no, but
black
I
and
know
white?
they made mention of that. There are a number of movies that were made on
Yeah.
his books.
Well, this one was on his books, but this one was called Dar, David Adams Richards, DAR, and this lady, and they did it in black and white.
Oh,
It was fascinating. He had it brought to the Miramichi, so we go to the theater and watch it there. And when David comes home, he's not an author, he's not
mm,
a senator. He's a Miramichier. That's
yeah, yeah. He's
so
just a
he's a
homeboy.
doctor. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I was really good friends with his brother in high school, so
Hmm.
I knew. Well, I didn't know him as well at the time, but I got to know him later. Yeah. But
Mm, mm,
so
interesting. And there was another fellow, David Ryan. He was the world-class chef.
oh yes, I
Yeah,
know that was and never just you come across that and you say I didn't know that, and a
I
lot of people
know.
tell me that I didn't know that. That there was the Crockers were well known here. They had a store, a Crocker store, and then they were in
Mhm.
politics as well. And so one of the sisters had a daughter who married my brain's not working really good here, but the Banting, so Frederick Banting, and
Oh,
like, and she was
oh
a
wow.
really good doctor in her own right.
Yeah.
and yeah, and like people say, I had no idea that
Yeah.
there was a connection there, right?
Yeah.
Or that singer, or the lady from Blackville area that performed at Carnegie Hall during recitations and stuff. I don't know, it
Yeah.
wasn't in the second book. I think it was in the first one, but that
Oh,
you
it's
see,
amazing.
I had no idea.
I know.
Yeah,
Totally amazing. So many talented people. And,
yeah,
we often don't know these people that are all around us. And of course, many of your biographies that are in there are from way, way back and are so interesting. But you've also had a number of present day people in there that we just didn't even
yeah.
realize that they were so good at what they do.
And so sometimes I would get if I read a really good obituary, like
Mhm.
especially females,
Yeah.
sometimes they just said she was a housewife, and like, but I didn't one for my mother, and she was more than just a housewife.
Yes.
And I wrote, well, I took the whole page of the newspaper, and I had to pay dearly for that, but it didn't
Yeah.
matter. I said,
Yeah.
I want people to know who she was. And so
Exactly.
those kinds of stories I would put in there too. You really
Yes.
got to know
Yes.
the person. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly, yes. And I know you have an affinity for veterans, and you wrote a book, We Will Remember Them, the Veterans. And what was that about?
Well, that was just, I have to admit, growing up, we would ask my parents sometimes about what the situation was, from 1940 to 45. They were fortunate in that they lived in northern Holland. We've heard stories and read stories about people that lived in the south, because where my parents lived, they had farms.
Hmm.
And they had access to food, but they didn't have that in the South. And you've heard stories about eating tulip bulbs, and the winter before they were liberated was called the winter of hunger, and a lot of people passed away, died
Yeah.
because of that. So they were fortunate that way. But I mean, uh, I didn't really appreciate it until as I got a little bit older. I thought, there's something here, like, and the pride you would feel when these veterans were back to Holland. You were proud of the fact that you came from that country, and they admired these people so much, and you're proud now of the fact that you are now a Canadian. So
Yes.
there was a real strong feeling, and so I always wanted to thank them. I've written lots of poems, and I used to do all the programs at the school. I insisted on it, and they said go right
Mhm.
ahead, and
Yes.
and so, but that doesn't seem to be enough. So I thought I want to start writing about some of these guys, and so I was very fortunate to get stories on my own and from other people, and talk to people and who gave me their parents or their uncle, or the story of their involvement in the war. And so, yeah, so it came out with three books, and I actually brought those to Holland in 2023. My wife and I went back for a trip and a visit the Holton and Grosbeek Canadian cemeteries. And
Oh,
I gave
lovely.
them the books, the three books. And as a
Uh,
matter of fact, at Grosbeek, they were putting all these photos of the soldiers on the graves. And I noticed that they didn't have all of them. And I said, they're in the book. So they were able to get those pictures and put
oh, very nice.
them nice, yeah.
Very nice. Yeah.
Oh
We
yeah,
must remember them because I
oh,
mean, it's too often that people forget
yeah.
such terrible things that have happened and we don't want to repeat those things.
No, absolutely not. Well, they haven't forgotten in Holland, I can tell you
Oh, I
that.
know.
Yeah.
There's a great connection, isn't there, with
Oh,
Canada and Holland for sure.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yes, we have a number of veterans I know that have gone over that are, well, some were 100 years old.
Yeah.
It's amazing that they've made the trip, but they really wanted to
Yeah.
go. It was so
Sure
important.
did. They sure
Yeah,
did. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Wow,
So
wow.
yeah, so that was yeah, I really felt good about that, and get
Hmm.
those stories out. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Now I know we've touched a little bit about this earlier with your books, but how do you actually choose the biographies to go in your books? I mean, must have there's so many that you have to look at. How do you make that choice?
Yeah, well, I guess it's if I found them interesting, if I found there was something that, I didn't know that, and I'm sure people in the Miramichi didn't know that.
Yeah.
I would, and some of the stories people knew about, but yeah, I just whatever I thought was was interesting for me and would be interesting for other people. I was select that way. But I mean, I had all those stories. Yeah. So I had all these stories. So I chose 75, 75, and yeah, that was difficult because you
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to leave out, if the people that you thought, well, maybe that would be interesting too, but I couldn't do it. Well, it would be impossible to do. I'd have to do another 12 book series. That's way too
12.
much. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Yeah. Well, so what are you working on now? Anything?
Well, I just finished the those pictorial accounts of the Miramichi, but I've written a book on my life. Um, a friend of mine showed me one time a story that his father was in the war,
Mm-hmm.
and he had his grandson, my friend's son, type up all his stories about growing up in Chatham in the 30s. He didn't talk about the war. He just talked about what it was like in Chatham and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I read it and I thought, that's really good. I said, that should be in a book. And he said, oh. Anyway, I finally talked him into it,
Mm-hmm.
and I organized it all, chronologically, and gave it some neat little titles. So you
Oh yeah.
went from story to story. And then I thought, and his father had written those for his grandchildren. I thought, gee, I should do that.
Yeah.
So I was going to write a book, and I wrote four. But there was too many stories to tell.
Wow.
So I took those four stories. As a matter of fact, I still have to have a couple left to give. I gave them to them in grade 5, 7, 9, and 11. So I have
Uh,
a granddaughter going into 11 next year and one going into grade 9, grandson. And so they'll get those books, and they find out about what I did and what I was up to, and that sort of thing. And then I thought, yeah, maybe I should write, this out for the public. So I instead of four books, I have three. So making a trilogy. And the first one, people have asked me, when are you going to do book two? And I said, well, I'm just about finished, and I'm just sort of see. I mentioned things about people. I mean, I'm sure it was I write things the way I saw them, but I'm being honest, and so sometimes I might have, I don't mention names, but people might be able to figure out who I'm talking about. So I'm kind of waiting, and maybe I'll get two done pretty quick, and then I'll have the third one done. But yeah, so I'm sort of working on that too. But
mhm. Oh,
yeah.
how interesting. Now, do you write longhand or do you write with your computer or a typewriter? What's your process?
I used to write longhand, and then with the plays, and then I got myself a Mac, one of those little Mac computers, the ones that everything was right there, the
Yeah.
small little box thing,
Yeah, yeah.
and I found I could. There was one play I wrote one time. It was a whodunit, and I found myself like I couldn't stop. I just kept typing, and and the mistakes you can fix up later, but just get
Yeah.
all the ideas out. And it
Yeah.
basically took me, like, instead of me writing the play just took me, and I just kept
Oh,
on
how
going. And
interesting.
yeah,
Wow.
and yeah,
You've got so much inside you that has to get out.
yeah, well, that's it, and I find it a little bit easier because my writing. I used to get a lot of parents on Parent Teacher Day, not because they had any problems with me or with their child. They wanted to know exactly what did you write on the report card. They couldn't really read it that well. My writing, so longhand is not good for me. So yeah,
Oh, that's interesting. Oh my goodness. I know you're involved in a lot of musical things as well, right? You're part of a choir, right?
yeah, the villagers we call
Yeah.
ourselves, and we just we've got now the Christmas shows coming up. And yeah, that's really my wife has been in it from the beginning when they first
Hmm.
started, and I sort of came along later. But yeah, I enjoy that. It's just a great. We were just at a church in Red Bank, and where they had like about maybe 8 or 9 community, like congregational hymns, and then we did 3 pieces, and other groups did pieces. It was sort of an hour and 50 minutes of Christmas music. And when we sang those Christmas songs with all these people that were there because they love the music,
Yeah.
When you hear that, like you don't just sing it mildly, you put
Oh, you
everything.
belt it out, right?
Oh, and the place it sort of had a wooden ceiling, the a curved ceiling at the top. The acoustically, it was fantastic. So the
Oh,
sound
nice.
was just unbelievable. Yeah.
Oh, that's
What a
so nice.
feeling! What
Oh,
a
music is a great connector, isn't it?
yeah,
It's
oh,
just,
absolutely. Yeah.
oh, yeah, it warms the heart, and it doesn't even matter if you can sing or not. Just being part of that music scene is the key.
Well, they're doing a lot of that now in pubs, right? Where they just get a bunch of people and people pay now to come and they work on a song and then they end up singing it or whatever. I think it's a great idea. Yeah.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And there's that whole business about choir. They
Yeah,
go to big
right.
auditoriums. Yeah, yeah. That's really, really interesting stuff. And well, music makes the world go round. It really
That's
does.
right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Gosh. Huh. So obviously you're not slowing down at all.
Mm,
Um,
no, and I said one day as a joke, I said to my wife, I said, I think I should retire from retirement. But but really, what else would you do? You keep
Yep.
busy, you do, and if you say I'm doing too much, well, then you don't have to. It's up to you. So no,
Yeah.
I'd rather. I like to keep busy. It's good.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that kind of goes right into my next question about if people are looking at retirement or if they've just newly retired, what kind of advice would you give them?
Well, I hope they have something in their life besides work. You know,
Yeah,
really. I mean,
yeah,
I had drama and I had
yeah.
writing and and had all that. So it was easy for me.
Hmm.
Then I could spend more time. I had asked God one time to let me live to 90 because I had some projects I wanted to finish. And my mother lived to be 101, so I might have a chance.
Well, you might have a chance,
Yeah.
yes.
So one of the things was I took all my DVDs that I made. Well, first I had VHS tapes,
Oh, yes,
of
yeah.
everything. I put those all into DVDs, and I just recently digitized everything.
Oh,
And
nice.
so that was one project. The other project is to scan every photo that I have. I'm up to about 1980 now. And,
Oh,
and not only do I scan it, but I say exactly where it is well, who's in it and the date. I want to know. So when people ask me, do you have a picture when you were a kid in Holland? Yep. I just I find it easily, and then I just pass that on to my kids, and I'm sure they can. So they instead of a bunch of pictures and albums, they have it
oh,
right on the
yes.
computer. Yeah. So
I know everybody has that photo album and they have no idea who the people are in that picture. And if the
and the
person is
year.
not around to tell them, what do you do?
And that's the thing about these books here. I insist that every picture I have in here, I have to know the year. Like when was
Yeah.
people want to know exactly when this was. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah, so I think if you can if you have make sure you have something else besides work, and then and of course the other thing is what a great feeling when you help somebody else or you do something for somebody. It's just
Yes.
man, what a feeling you get. So yeah,
Mhm.
volunteer, help out.
Exactly.
Right now
Exactly.
I'm in the St. Vincent de Paul Society, and
Hmm.
so we do hampers at Christmas time.
All
And
right.
I there was a guy who did it for years, and he got me to help him, and then eventually said, "Take it over," and, and I'm glad
Yeah.
he did because I enjoy it. I really it's a great feeling to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when you give, you receive as well. Right.
Absolutely, absolutely,
Yes, yes. And it is a good thing. Yes. And find something you love to do because when we worked, we always had that thought, oh, I wish I had the time. Well,
yeah,
now you
exactly,
have the time, right?
exactly, yeah, well, absolutely. No,
Yeah.
well, you must find the same thing. You
Oh,
have,
yes.
you're able, and there's lots of things to do. I mean, there's
Oh,
no
yes,
shortage of
yes.
that. Well, if you have a house, which we do, well, certainly
Yes.
it
Then
takes
you're
time.
occupied for sure.
That's right.
Yes, yes. But
That's
keep
why I
it
don't mind.
involved.
That's why I don't mind the winter.
Yeah,
Blowing snow, fine, but I don't
yeah.
have to go around the yard, fix this, do this.
Exactly, exactly. It's all covered. We don't have to worry about it for a few months.
Right, that's right.
Exactly. Yes, yes, yeah. Well, it's really great to hear about all of your stories and I think what you're doing with all of your books and compiling all that history of all those people. and passing it on to the next generation. It's so important because we forget our history so often, right? And we need to be reminded there were some really, really cool people back there, and they had a lot to do with our town, our province, and
Yeah.
and the people around us. So yeah, it's really important to learn about that and to remember all of these people.
There was a soldier that I wrote about. He moved from the Miramichi to St. John, but he's buried on the Miramichi. That's where he wanted to be buried.
Yeah.
And on his tombstone, he says, and he's written right other, I was just dying to get back to the Miramichi.
Well, he had a sense of humor.
I guess.
Yes, I know someone who told me once, he said on his tombstone he's going to have, I am not happy.
I just saw a program the other day where people are now putting their number one recipes on the back of their tombstones. A
Yes.
great idea.
Yes. Yes, because they wouldn't give it away when they were alive, but now they're dead.
Exactly.
It's okay.
Have at it.
That's right. People are funny. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness gracious. Yeah. And it's great to have a laugh, isn't it?
Oh,
Oh
I
yeah.
I don't know what I would do with. I mean, we always as teachers, we always had to have a laugh.
Oh
It, it,
yes.
it was because you couldn't let things get you down. They did sometimes, but
Yeah.
if you had the right
Mhm.
people around you, yeah. I mean, I'd go to a
Exactly.
staff room if I heard people complaining and going on. I'd go somewhere else. No, I
Yeah.
don't need that. No, I'll go
Yeah.
somewhere
Yeah.
where we can joke around and just enjoy what we
Yes.
do. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Laughter lifts the heart for
Oh,
sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, John, it was lovely talking to you today and learning all about these people from Miramichi because I mean I lived there for 8 years and
Ah,
and I've just been reintroduced to some of them, which is really really great. And learning all about all the things that you do and that you keep on going. It's such an inspiration because so many people they don't know what to do when they retire and they're kind of lost. So, your advice is just keep on going, make those connections and get involved and give back is a
yes,
really good thing.
absolutely. What a great feeling it is. Really is. Yeah,
It
yeah,
is.
yeah.
It is. And let's hope that we will inspire someone else to follow their dreams when they retire. So thank you so much, John.
You're very welcome, Diane. Thanks for interviewing me. Great.